Hey everyone, so what I'm going to go through today is Polkadot and show you how I think that we are on the road to a $250 to $400 dot, okay, and basically I'm going to show you how we get there. So first of all, the reason that I pick and choose the altcoins to look at that I do and the ones that I hold are because they have to have one, good fundamentals, good hype, good marketing, all of that good stuff, and have, you know, pretty good communities. That should give you an indication that there's interest and people want to buy them. And obviously, like I said, those fundamentals, especially layer one protocols at the minute, are a pretty big thing. Anything that is a niche competitor, at least to Ethereum, is something good to look at. And then we also want coins, okay, from a historical data point of view, to be something that is at least an outperformer, or at least oscillates, okay, over time when it comes to Bitcoin or when it comes to its Ethereum valuations, because that's the reason that we hold altcoins for the long term, because we typically soak up more volatility, but we pay for that in outsized returns in the future. And we want to be holding assets that are riskier, okay, than Bitcoin and Ethereum, because we think that they're going to outperform. Okay, so that's basically the main reason that we hold that, and this is basically why I'm covering DOT today. So if we have a look at just the broad market structure on the DOT USDT or USD chart, we want to see coins that are generally uptrending in time and they've got good market structure. So first thing that we can see is we've got this trend line over here where we're creating higher lows, okay, which is what we want to see, and we're currently basically trying to break through this region of about $45 to $55, okay, because we've retested this about 2 or 3 times properly, and you can see that we are essentially basically just getting knocked back from that area. But what we can see as well is that the first time we got knocked back, we got a massive heavy sell-off. I think this was probably about a 70% decline, if I'm not mistaken. 80% absolutely hammered, and essentially that was a massive move down. And then the second time we reattempted, got a little bit higher, still got really rejected from that key area, which is really forming the top of the range. But now what we can see is that we're starting to form these higher lows. This sell-off here currently doesn't look as bad, okay, as this one. And if you take so long as basically this area holds, then I think we're sort of good to move a little bit higher. And you can see that this area has been a key level, we'll put this in green, okay, of support. So we can see that this is a good range for DOT to be basically picking up some momentum for. Okay, and if we're bullish on the market for Bitcoin and everything else moving into 2022, then this is definitely one that we want to be looking out for, in my opinion. So we've got these key levels of support over here. Okay, really, you know, we're looking at this as a region, at that $26 region, okay, where we've seen really nice bases before. Any lower, any level that is, you know, lower than that, we're sort of looking at the $15 range, but we're not there yet. So we can just assume at the minute that we are just uptrending. That's what the chart is showing us, okay? And then we can see that what we're actually forming is an ascending triangle over here, because we're knocking at these highs over here, okay? And a lot of the times, I think when you look at the geometry of these patterns and stuff, you want to be able to pick out patterns. They don't necessarily have to be like, you know, prices to the T, or this candle it has to line up with this exactly. You generally want to pick out, you know, the key observation that you can find. So in this case, like I said, we're basically building, we're knocking at basically this $50 region, and we can see that we're trying to break through it, okay, and we're creating higher lows at the same time. So this tells you that we're trying to move higher, okay. So we've got that, and that's basically the structure that we're in, which shows us that we're bullish. So where are we with the Bitcoin and Ethereum valuations? And we're going to extrapolate that, okay, and show you how we get to about $250, $400 dot, okay, moving into 2022, okay. So pretty similar chart on the dot Bitcoin. Okay, so it's a similar chart where we're basically hammering away at this this 9,000 to 10,000 sat area, and essentially we're still forming higher lows here, and we're looking to still take this higher to the next leg. Okay, so BTC, sorry, .BTC uptrending, looking good. Now, Ethereum is actually at a key point at the moment, because we are actually have bounced from this zone where we've previously seen quite a lot of support. You can see again over here, we've touched this multiple times, 1, 2, 3, 4 times, okay, and we've seen nice rallies at least for DOT from this region. So if historical data is anything to go by, this also shows us this is a good region for basically DOT to be moving higher and maybe start to outperform ETH in the short term, medium term. Okay, so that's what we can basically deduce on that. Now, if we look at percentage wise, okay, from bottom to top, if we take it just from the bottom of the range to the top of the range, we can call that at about a 300% move. Okay, should DOT be able to move from here to there, okay, and from current prices we'll say it's about 200%. Okay, now BTC, it's BTC pairing. If we look at the relationship on a Fibonacci scale, okay, and we want to pick the obvious highs and obvious lows, okay, I would be targeting the 618 here, which is about the 17,000 sat region, because if we look at this relationship over here, okay, let's get rid of this first fib over here, we hit the 618 here, so I would say that's a good place to be taking targets. Seems like quite a realistic possibility, because obviously we're expecting DOT to outpace Bitcoin over time at some point in time, okay, so if we extrapolate that 618, like I said, and essentially we take it from there, boom, okay, we've got that 1700 sat, and then from here, where does that put us? That put us at about 150% move from here, from DOT versus Bitcoin. So those are the upside targets that we can look at. Okay, great. So let's say, okay, and I'm going to show you how this extrapolates to that $250, $400 DOT that we can take that we can look at for valuations. Okay, if we look at DOT USD, okay, whoops. Let's say that next year you're expecting 150k BTC, which is what I would be expecting given all the TA and the analysis that we've done on this channel before. That's what I would be expecting. So from current prices, let's just say that's a 2x. So let's just say that's a 3x, okay? So let's say just the price of Bitcoin alone drags up the price of DOT 200%, okay? So that would put us at about $100 DOT, okay? Now, we'd be expecting, okay, for DOT to outperform, okay? And obviously, typically the altcoins are not going to peak at the exact same time as Bitcoin. Most of the time they have this kind of like rally after Bitcoin's made its major move. So Bitcoin is usually valued slightly less, maybe 10-20% less, but the altcoins tend to run. But let's just say for argument's sake that for $150 DOT, okay, so $150,000 Bitcoin, okay, DOT's at about $100, and then we make that extrapolation of about 1.618, which was about 170%. If we extrapolate that from there, we get to about 273, okay, dollars. Okay, great. And then maybe Ethereum from that same point, okay, if we could outpace Ethereum at about that 200 to 300% range, maybe that puts us over here. So we've got some targets here we can go, okay, great, let's have a look at 400, okay, and great, and then we can have a look at 275 as another range to have a look at here. So we're going to mark out those levels, okay, and that would also put the market cap, okay, of DOT. I'd be looking at a market cap at the absolute mania and peak of at the end of this cycle to be somewhere around that $300 to $500 billion market cap, okay. And if you look at current market caps where BTC is 2 trillion and Ethereum is about half a trillion rather, if you extrapolate that BTC would get to 150k, okay, at the end of this market cycle, okay, BTC. And if you look at ETH, I'm looking at ETH at being about a $20,000 that's a 150, yeah, 20k ETH is what I'd be looking at some point moving into 2022. So if you extrapolate that, that would put us at about 2 trillion for ETH, and for Bitcoin I would imagine that puts us at about a 6 to 7 trillion dollar BTC, but let's just let's be conservative and say that we get to that. Okay, now currently DOT is somewhere around basically, if you extrapolate the fact that DOT, you expect it to outperform, keep up with the market, okay, and a $300 billion DOT overvaluation would basically put us at about $300 DOT. Okay, so that's basically where it puts us now. So if you think about that, that is actually also a scenario, and I'm talking about like market peaks here. Okay, that is a scenario that is not too unreasonable. If you think that BTC and ETH are hitting these targets, you should be expecting DOT to hit these sort of numbers as well. Okay, because at the minute BTC is at 2 trillion, ETH is at $500 billion, and DOT is only at about I believe, where was it down here? Let's just get this back up. Is it about 331 billion on market cap? So a 10x from here, that's about right. Okay, about $33 moves up into somewhere in this range. Okay, so that's great. So is there anything else we can see from a technical point of view? So I can tell you now, okay, I've looked at this for all of the altcoins, and typically the way the algorithms work, the most common levels, okay, for altcoins to be hit on a Fibonacci extension scale, okay, from one major wave to another, is the 1.618, okay, and the 4.236 levels. And I'm going to show you a little trick with a 4.236 after this, where we can basically, I'll show you how that basically moves into even higher price targets if we reach those. But those are the most common. So I typically look at the 1.618, the 2.618, 3.618 and 4.236. Now the most common one by far, you can have a look at this yourself, is the relationship that you tend to find that you either get a reaction at that level, like a pause in price where you get some sort of sideways action, or you get a big correction and a big sell-off, is the 1.618, or the 2 is the 4.236. They are the most common Fibonacci relationships to look out for. Okay, and then what you can see here as well, and I'm going to show you that on some coins, is that what we can do is that we can see from here, oops, this level, okay, we got to about 4.236, but I'm going to show you something in a minute about the 4.236, because typically on a lot of these big moves you'll see on a lot of altcoins, okay, especially, is that when you get to this 4.236, if we tend to extend higher, they commonly go about 100 to 200% more. Okay, I don't know if there is an actual fib line for this, but you tend to find they do go further than that, and you tend to get an extension of about 100 to 200%, and I'm going to show you that on some coins. Okay, so we've got this level here of 4.236. okay, and if we have a look at this low when we came out of this basing pattern, and then we basically extrapolate that from there, 4.236. So what can we have a look at from here? So if this low is in, and I'm going to tell you why it's not going to matter too much, if this is the low and we can take this pivot high here, okay, that puts us at about a $220 DOT. Okay, even if we use this as the main wave and we're still basically making this bigger wave here, it's really not that much different, and we still end up with essentially a pretty similar Fibonacci target of about that $210 to $220 target. Okay, but like I said to you, in the mania phase of a lot of these parabolic altcoin runs like Luna that you've seen recently, Matic and all this sort of stuff, they tend to get to that 4.236, and then what they tend to do, okay, is they tend to extend about 100 to 200% after that. So if we have a look at this range here, and again, like I said, that will put us at somewhere around there, as you know, in that region is where you'd be looking to take. That's the ultimate profit taking zone for me. If anyone who's got in below 50, okay, If you've got in here, and if you're a hero and you basically got dot over here, then you're absolutely laughing, and you should be absolutely taking profits there, because like I said, we still think there's another leg in this bull run to go. So these are the regions that I'd be looking at, and like I said, we've got this target here of where we think the general market direction is going to go. These are going to be quite fluid. So BTC, it might be 6 trillion at one point, ETH might be 2 trillion at another point, but we can get a range of basically where we think maybe the low end of the range is, which might be about $200 dot, to where the top end of the range is, with all things confluent. Let's say BTC is slightly higher than that, and things start to overextend a little bit, maybe we can get to that $400 dot. Okay, so this is what I'd be looking at. We've got these fib extensions here that are also giving us that indication, which our general structure is telling us that we're basically creating higher highs and higher lows really is the main thing. And remember, consolidation precedes expansion, okay? And the bigger the consolidation, the bigger the move up, okay? So we've essentially had this move over here where we went sideways, okay, for 6 months, and then we moved up, right, 700%, okay, we'll call it from peak to peak, about 600%, okay. So what do you think, okay, a move, or rather a sideways consolidation over here of about 1 year before we break out of this, okay, should we break out, okay, then, you know, if we looked at just a 600%, that would put us again somewhere in the same region. And the reason that I'm not using more than 600% because we've gone sideways for longer, for a year, okay, is that I always think that you get some form of diminished returns with any asset class as it matures, and you get that higher market cap where it takes more volume and more institutional money to basically push the money up, okay, to push the price up, because you basically need more money. Over here the liquidity is far lower because the market cap is far lower. Over here the market cap would have been something like 3 billion, which is absolutely nothing, okay. So you know, you can basically push the price up pretty quick, which you've got these absolutely chaotic parabolic moves over here. But I still do think we've got another run in us to go. So that's where we can basically see those price targets, and why I think basically the ultimate profit taking zone, and what I would be aiming for as a holder of DOT, is somewhere over here. Layer in your sells if you're using this video to look at targets for the future of where you want to sell. Like I said, about 200, and I'd just be chipping off money off the table. I'd probably personally chip off a little bit of money off the table at the 618, which actually coincidentally is also the $100 mark, big round number, just from this wave to this wave, okay, if that ends up being the low. So just another thing to basically bear in mind here. So $100, I would probably take a little bit off the table because there are no certainties in crypto. Maybe at least take out your initial investment. You've got house money to play with, let it ride. So that's basically what I'd be looking at there. And that's the ultimate profit taking zone. So the last thing that I want to have a look at is just to quickly show you those Fibonacci relationships, which I'm not sure quite a lot of people have looked at. But if you look at the major moves, and I'll just show you these for 4 coins that and obviously you have to somewhat cherry pick this, but if you go through all the altcoins, you can actually see this relationship through all of through all of the coins, okay. Is if you have a look at like ADA, for example, okay, we had this swing low over here, okay, and our big move up here. We did get to that 4 point, and altcoins always typically get to 4.236 in the mania phase or above, okay. And here we had an extension of about, like I said, somewhere between 100 and 200%, okay. Really nice, okay. So that's why we're looking at those potential numbers to get to. BNB, something pretty similar, just taking this one, this extension to this extension. We basically again reached somewhere between 100 to 200% extension of the 4.236. If there is a Fibonacci number after that I haven't actually looked at, this is just an observation that I've made myself, but then do let me know down below. But yeah, and then I think some of the others that I looked at, of all the majors, I think I looked at like Theta, actually really overshot, but you get the point. Like if you're taking profits at 100 to 200 percent, like you're an absolute hero. That is the ultimate profit taking zone, because you know at the absolute very least, historically speaking, that when these major cryptos reach those levels, that you tend to get at the absolute bare minimum some sort of sideways action correction, but most of the time you do get a heavy sell off at those levels. Okay, I think the last one I looked at was Engine, where we got something similar on that. Yeah. So again, I'm taking the most obvious waves where we basically got from these swing lows, and we basically made these big massive moves up, extensions for these moves up, and then you can see as well, basically somewhere I would imagine, there we go, 100 to 200%. And then we basically get these heavy sell-offs or sideways action. Okay, so those are the levels that I'll be looking at. Somewhere as minimum as like a 220, 210 dot for moving into 2022. But I think likely we do kind of end up overshooting at some point when everything goes bananas. You just need to have some diamond hands, hold, and just have some conviction, and just, but also have some conviction in your selling, and so that when you get there, make sure that you're not basically just holding paper gains and you just follow the euphoria of everyone on the internet that will probably tell you that dot's going to about $1,000. So just something to note. And yeah, and obviously all of this is dependent on BTC being bullish and that everything basically doesn't shit the bed. But my outlook for 22 is pretty positive. You can come back and comment on this video to see if it's aged pretty well in say 3, 6, 9 months time. You can absolutely slam me if I'm wrong, or if I'm right, you can basically say, Adam, you are the absolute GOAT. I wish I found you a little bit earlier. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it. Go ahead and like the video, share it down below, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.